Stella Rose watermelon. All right. Hey guys, this is Bruce. Welcome to ConvoCourses podcast. And today I'm gonna do a little something different because I got some work to do, and I'm just gonna go ahead and start recording something I'm working on here. It's an update to an SCA course that I have, and I'm just gonna record. I figure I might as well just go ahead and do this live. I might as well go ahead and record how I do this live while I train and just show you and also show everybody. All right. So what I'm going to do is talk about how SCAs are done. And SCA, for those who don't know, is a security control assessment, also known in the industry as an audit. And an IT audit, I've been through quite a few of these. I've been on the receiving end of it, and I've also been the person who administers it. I've done self-assessments before. And what I want to do is, before we get started in our normal session of opening this up to everybody, asking questions and stuff, and having a conversation, which is what this is all about, I want to talk about what happens in a real world assessment. Now, I've done it in Department of Defense, I've done it in different parts of the federal government, and I've done it in the private sector. And it's, although they have different names and slightly different things they'll look at, it's overall it's pretty much the same thing. So if you have a good idea of how this goes, then no matter where you go, you'll have a really good idea of what to do. So, and let's just get into this. So, what happens during a security control assessment? Let me just kind of run you through it. So, security control assessment number one is to make sure that all the security controls are in place, because it's one thing to install them and implement them, but it's a whole other thing to know whether or not they were effectively implemented. So, what normally happens is you have a preparation phase to your SCA whenever you have these assessments. And this is normally to allow the organization to figure out how they're what's the scope of the assessment. So they'll have things like a questionnaire, or they'll have like a bunch of requests of what they need from you, what the assessor needs from you. As an assessor, if you're the assessor, you have to reach out to the organization to say, I need system details. What is your system about? I need things like, what's the risk level? I need things like a list of all the users and what types of users, what roles. I need an assessment inventory. I need your most recent scan. I need to see your most recent firewall updates or something. It just depends on the scope of the assessment. So the questions will be based off of what type of assessment you're going to do. Because if an application scan, application assessment, you will need to know, okay, well, I need your source code. We need to see if we can get your source code so we can take a look at the most recent and the old source code, or your source code libraries. We need access to that. We need to know who are our points of contact, things like that. So when you're scoping this out, you need to know all the information: who, what, when, where, and why. Before you even start anything, you need to know if you can get there, what sites to go to, all that kind of stuff. So that's normally what happens, whether you're in the Department of Defense, or you're in a different federal department, private sector. All of them have to do the same thing. If you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And you have to get approval to do this. Like, you can't just show up at a site and start doing scans, right? Even if you have nowhere to go, what sites to hit or whatever, you have to have a formal method of saying, getting it signed off and saying, this is what we're going to do. Here's the requirements, and getting it signed off by the head of agency. So there's different things that's going to be in this document. It's going to be things like, what's the purpose, what are the a general idea of when we can do the assessment, key stakeholders. You're not in the details yet, but there's certain things you need to know that's going to be formally documented first. And that's going to look a little bit like this. Let me give you an example of what that looks like. I have like a little template that you normally see in these things. So it'll look a little bit like this. So it'll just be a memo that's going through. It's going to have the system name, what owners, points of contact, what are the methods we're going to use, and it's a very over it's an overview of what you're going to do. It's not exact yet. You're going to do that when you get to the what's called a SAP, a security assessment plan. That's when you go into full blown detail. But right now, you've got the scoping. You kind of have an idea what you want to do, what place you want to hit, and you got to get formal approval. And that's what this memo is all about. So it kind of, it just looks like that. So now we get into, let's say we've got all this stuff done. Now let's get to the security assessment plan. We've already done the memo. We have it signed, formal documents from the head of agency saying, we know you're going to do it. We know you're going to hit these things. You've already contacted the organization. Now what you need to do is put all of that in writing in detail. And that's what the security assessment plan is all about. And just an overview of it's going to be who, what, when, where, and why. Like whenever you write any document, whenever you look at any document, whether you're doing an assessment or anything, you got to look at the who, what, when, where, and why to determine what all is going to go into it. So in this case, what are we doing? We're going to describe the purpose and what is the system all about and why are we doing it. So you might reference things like the NIST 837, or if you're using another framework, you might use that one. If you're doing PCI DSS, you would name, we're doing this. We're looking at all the point of sale devices using PCI DSS in these 5 sites for Walmart, right? So it just depends on the framework where you're looking, and it's the same. Like, what are we looking at? And it's going to be from a high level view of what you're looking at, because you're going to go into great detail when you actually do the actual assessment. Assumptions have to be made. Like, there's different things. Like, how are we going to communicate? We need to know that. What is the type of assessment we're going to do? Like I said, you can do a source code assessment, a firewall assessment, you can do a physical assessment. There's all kinds of, you can do a combination of all of them, or maybe it's an annual or 3-year assessment where you're going to hit everything. But the assumptions have to be made. Like, we assume that the system status is X. We assume that we assume that there's certain sites we're not going to hit. And you also have limitations. Speaking of what sites you're not going to hit, there might be some controls or systems or sites that are excluded from this. You would put that in the security assessment plan. And then other things would be like, you would name the tools that you have in there. You would name the stakeholders, the points of contact. You would name. So it's pretty basic, right? It's just who, what, when, where, and why of the assessment itself. That's the SAP in a nutshell. The test plan, now this kind of goes off into another tangent. So before I go into the actual test plan components, which is a kind of its own thing, not its own thing, but it's a very important part that we need to hit. Let me just show you what a security assessment looks like. And if you're interested in having an assessment done, if you need somebody to come to your organization, that's something that I can do for you. Or I can point you in the right direction to other professionals who I know who can do it for you. Let me just show you some templates of security assessment plans. And if you're interested in doing this on your own, you want a deeper dive into this, I have courses, I have downloadables, I have actual plans that you can download yourself and use them. But here's a few different templates that just to give you an idea what they look like. They don't all look the same, right? So if they all look the same, I could just put it out there or whatever and give it to you. But they all look different. It depends on how the organization wants to approach it. So this right here is a SAP that is based off of that's using a spreadsheet. I've seen them use spreadsheets before. Not my favorite, but you could still get the same thing done. Like the who, what, when, where, and why is all in here in a spreadsheet. So it's got exceptions. You could put assumptions in there. It's pretty detailed. It's telling you what methods we're going to use. You can put the architecture, all that kind of stuff in there. Let me give you another example of a template for a SAP that you might use. Let's see. Let's look at here's another template. Let me give you an example. Let me see if I can find an actual example of one. I have some sample SARs and some sample SAPs that you can also download. Here's one. So yeah, somebody's asking me, is this a course? This is a course. So here's another sample document that's in Word. More often I'll see them in Word, and then they'll have it signed in a PDF or whatever. But yeah, this is talking about the assumptions, the limitations, and this is a format for essentially for what you see in the U.S. federal government. But it's all going to be the same. Like, this is not a secret. It's going to cover the who, what, when, where, and why of what you're doing. So in this, one of the most important pieces that we'll cover next is how are you going to map all the controls? In other words, what are we actually going to look at? And that's a really, really important piece to all of this. That is the actual test plan, and we'll cover that next. Okay. So let's cover this. Within your SAP, or as a addition or an addendum or an appendices or a link on your security assessment, as a part of your security assessment process, you'll have a test plan. And this goes into greater detail about what you're actually going to hit. And as a information system security officer, as a GRC person, as a cyber, you could just be a system administrator on a server or something as a part of this. It's stakeholders. This is what we're going to look at most. The SAP goes out, like you got the memo goes out, and it's mainly for upper leadership, right? You'll take a look at it. It'll just have the dates or whatever, whenever it's going to happen, right? And then you'll have the SAP. The SAP will have a better breakdown of all the things that are going to be used, like the tools that's useful, especially if you have a database or something. They might have different tools for that. If you have a very large network, you might have certain types of scanners that they're using. It's really good to know that information. But the most important part for us who are more in the weeds is going to be this matrix that breaks down everything that they're going to look at. This goes into individual controls that they're going to see. Controls that are tailored in or tailored out, like things that they're not going to look at, or things that are not applicable, or things that are, it might be that those things are other controls and other families that might be involved. It might not just be NIST. It might also include NIST CSF. It might also include PCI DSS. It might also include HIPAA if you happen to be a part of, an organization that has that in there. So it's really, really important. And it kind of, well, first of all, let me explain a little bit more about it. It'll be like a traceability matrix. It'll be very, very detailed. It'll normally be in some kind of a spreadsheet. It'll talk about every single control and how they're going to test those controls. It'll talk about expected results and expected documentation that they want to see, and all of that. It might also include vulnerability, going through vulnerabilities and stuff like that, but we'll get to that in a second. Right now, I want to just give you an example of what this thing looks like. It's going to look a little something like that. Let me just go here, and I'll have a downloadable for you guys if you actually go to the site once I upload all of this. This is like extra content that I'm putting on top of a SCA course that I already have. So you guys have the benefit of having this for free right now if you happen to be watching me live. This is a very, very basic, overly simplified version of what you're going to look at. So it'll have, in a nutshell, I just want to simplify it enough to where you can kind of see what you're looking at when you look at the more complicated one. It'll have control family. It'll have a description of the control ID, very important. Control name, and then the expected results, very, very important. What do we expect to see as assessors is going to be there. let me show you a little bit more advanced one. Oh, here's another one. So another column you might see is the method of test. How are they going to observe the actual test documentation, or is it going to be them observing the behavior of the system? Maybe they'll have you log in, and maybe they'll say, look, do you guys have a backups of your database? And you'll say yes. Just your attestation of that in a verbal yes is not enough. So they'll say, okay, let me see your backup system. Okay, let me see what you do when you restore a system. Well, let me see your process. Now you have to actually do what you're saying you're doing in your policy. That's a lot harder to do. So now let me show you a more detailed version of what this thing looks like normally when I've seen these traceability matrices. This is important because they're going to walk you through every one of the controls that are relevant to your system. You might not see every single control. Like there's literally 1,000 controls if you include the security enhancements. So it's a lot, right? They're not going to hit every single all 1,000 controls, but all the ones that are relevant to your organization, they will hit. That are on the SAP, they will hit. The SAP, the Security Assessment Plan, will have a link or maybe even have it as a part of the actual SAP. It'll reference this document here. And if you're lucky, you get to look at it before that even happens. Okay, hold on a second, guys. Yeah, it's really. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to do a taste test. All right, let's keep going. All right, so we're talking about the matrix. It's really important to your SAP. It's really important to you if you're an assessor or an auditor, because this tells you exactly, this is your script. Like this is what you're going to be looking for. So let's say you were looking at assessment control AC1. You know that this control specifically, AC1, is for policy and procedures. You need to observe their policy and procedure. And it tells you, determine if personnel or roles to whom excuse the wording is really academic, or I'm not sure like what kind of wording this comes from, but sometimes it's confusing. But you're going to determine, you as the assessor are going to determine if personnel or roles to whom the access control policy is to be disseminated to. So that's one of the things. Not only do you have one, but do you have something documenting where this is going to be sent to? Where is it published? Right. And then who? Like, well, that's really important because it's not enough to have it. You got to figure out, the organization has to figure out who it goes to and when. You're going to determine if the personnel or roles, okay, here we go. There's so much stuff going on. You're going to determine if the personnel or roles to whom access control procedures are to be disseminated. So not only policy, but procedures. Do you have policies? Do you have procedures? And did you determine who these go to? And also, did it go to them? And it goes on and on and on about every detail of your policy. And so like I said, you're not going to read all 1,000 plus control and assessment objectives. What you're going to do, that's why the SAP is really important, because it's going to lay the foundation of what you're going to look at. You might say, look, we're just going to take a look at your policy and make sure it's up to date. That's it. We don't dissemination roles, right? That's important, but we're not looking at that this time. We just want to know if you guys have updated it. That's it, right? And go to the next thing. And then you've got things like, how are we going to determine this? You've got examine, interview, and test. And then this document already says, okay. And if you're wondering, okay, where is Bruce getting this document from? This is from the NIST, NIST.gov. If you go to NIST.gov, you can find all the NIST 800 documents. Go to Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo or wherever you go, and type in NIST 853A, that's all the assessments. It breaks it all this stuff down. You see in great detail. It has downloadables for you. You don't have to go to my site. You can actually just go there, download all this stuff for yourself. You just watching me right now. You have the benefit of listening to somebody who's been through like 100 of these different things and knows exactly what they're going to look at. They don't look at everything, right? I'm telling you right now. The SAP, if you happen to be a GSC guy, GRC guy, and you are I don't know, network security guy or a cybersecurity person, and you have to go through this, then it's really beneficial to know what they're going to hit. It's kind of like you are getting prepared for the test, and they're giving you the answers to the test before they even get there, because you'll see this matrix breakdown, so you can prepare for it way in advance. A lot of times, what's happening these days is that we're just very, very busy, and we just don't have time. We don't have time to get to this, but we know how important it is, but there's so many other things going on with our job. So let me show you the kind of the last step in all of this. They go through their whole assessment. They go through their scans and everything. Speaking of scans, that's a huge part, is going through the vulnerabilities and compliance of your system. Not only patching, do you have a patching process? Do you have a patching mechanism? Is it automated? But are you compliant? Are your systems compliant? Do you have security controls in place? Do you have things like a baseline? These are all things that are going to go into the SAP before you even get there. They're going to tell you, here's what we're going to look at. And then all of those results go into something called a SAR, or Security Assessment Report. And this is kind of one of the last steps that you're going to do. And let me show you what that looks like. Now, that has many different iterations, many different ways that it looks. And I see you guys' questions here. I'll get to it in a second. But let me show you a SAR. So a SAR, here's an outline of a SAR. And I'll show you a couple different, just to kind of give you an overview of what it looks like and what kind of things to expect in it. It's going to have usually an overview of everything, that like an executive summary that breaks down everything, so that your heads of agency, your CIOs, your CISOs can quickly take a look at it and say, okay, where are the main areas? What's this system all about? What things do I need to look at? Because they don't have time to look at all the stuff in the weeds, right? So they just need a very quick summary. So that first part will normally be an overview of everything that's going on. It'll talk about how they approached the whole assessment, and then it'll go into great detail about their findings, and then a conclusion. And so all of these other examples here have a bit of the same thing, from the templates that I have here, and another type of assessment that you might see, or a name for it is a risk assessment report, or an ARA. But yeah, so same thing. It's like the description of what happened, an overview, what was the scope. So it looks a little bit, in this case, it looks a little bit like a SAP. And then it'll go into great detail about all of the actual findings that happen there. Every organization that I've gone to has something a little bit different, but they all answer the same questions. And in that way, they're very similar. Let me just see if I can find another good example of some templates or some sample SARs. So here's some actual real world SARs that I got, that you guys can take a quick look at to get an idea of what these things look like. So here's a real world SAR. You can get this off the internet, right? This is not me taking proprietary information or anything like this. I got this off the internet. But yeah, here's what it looks like. It's a very professional looking document. Who prepared it, who submitted it, might be signed. It has a summary of the scope of what they looked at, and then it'll break down very quickly for your CIOs and CISOs what they looked at from a bird's eye view. And usually what the real cool SARs, what they'll do is right in the beginning, they'll tell you what you need to look at. Like in a few different paragraphs, it'll say, look, here are the top things you need to take a look at. and then all the other stuff is in great detail about every, and then might even have just attachments to everything else. That is a breakdown of what are the different risk severities and all that kind of stuff. And this is just one example. They all look pretty very different. So for me to sit here and say, oh, all of them look like this is just not realistic, because that's not the case, right? So so that's it. All of this stuff that I'm talking about here will go into is going into a course that I've been building and adding to over the past few years. And let's just break this out into questions. This is going to be a short one because I got more videos to do for the course, for courses that I'm building, including the GRC roadmap and NIST CSF. I'm on TikTok right now, taking a look at what you guys have here. And let me see. King says organizational policy with whom it applies. Organizational policies with whom it applies. Organization policies and procedures are mostly going to be inherited if they're part of a very, I think he means very large organization. Yeah. So that's true. So if you have a really big organization, a lot of times what happens is, oh my God. If you have a really large organization, you'll have a different departments, and then the lower department A, B, and C, will have an upper level department, and then you'll inherit those from another organization. So normally you don't have to rewrite the policies. That's the truth. You might be a part of developing them, and actually that's a really great exercise for you if you happen to be a GRC person. Passed the Security Plus yesterday. Congrats. Wow, that's awesome. Security Plus is an incredible certification. B Brown says, so the SSP is built based on the SAR? Not necessarily. So the SAP, for those who don't know, SSP is a system security plan. A system security plan is supposed to be a summary of all the controls that you have in your environment. So if you have a general support system, it has 100 workstations, let's say, and one server. And it will, first of all, explain the who, what, when, where, and why of the system from a security perspective. So it'll break down it'll break down what the system is, why we have the system, and then it'll go into summaries of all the security controls. So for NIST 853, it'll break down all the applicable controls. Because let's say wireless is one of the controls that you have to meet, right? But if you don't have wireless, you can tailor that out. That's one of the great things about NIST 800. And if you're doing PCI DSS, they don't call it a system security plan, I don't think. But it'll have something similar. It'll have a summary. A system security plan is just a summary of the features, the security features of your system. And the reason why it's important to write that down is because somebody else comes in, right? You have a change of systems are always changing, not just the vulnerabilities, but people in and out. So somebody else comes in and then they look at the system security plan and say, okay, I see that we have this, we have that. It's a document of all the security features so that you keep track of it. It's, as somebody who's been in this field before they had any of this, it's super important. It's super important. You wouldn't think things like documenting what's going on is important, but for the sake of transparency, it's very important. As soon as an organization loses sight of that and they don't think it's important anymore, all hell breaks loose. It's chaos. I've seen it happen, and it's ugly. It's really hard to work in places like that because it's just chaos constantly. All right, on to YouTube. Hey Larry, how you doing, man? He says, "What's up, Bruce? Just here for a mental break. Been a rough couple of weeks, man. I bet, man. I feel your pain. I feel your pain, brother. I know exactly what you're talking about. There's been, for those who don't know, who are not in the know, like there's a big change happening in the government right now. I'm in the government sector. I'm feeling the pain. They're just off the top of my head. They're trying to get people to quit. They're going full Twitter style on it, like what happened with Twitter when it became X. They're trying to fire as many people as possible. We already have. I know people who are outside of the government just don't have no idea, but we have a low staff. Most of the organizations I've been through in the federal government have a very low staff. Not all. I'm sure there's some that are overstocked and doing meaningless bullshit, right? But I've been in NASA, I've been in the Department of Defense, Air Force, Army, and I've been in Department of Homeland Security. We got a lot of work to do, and the mission is very important. And sometimes people's lives are on the line. And then there's not many people who are doing the work, because not many of these people who complain, these armchair beneficiaries off of the backs of our labor, complain about what we're doing, but then they don't want to participate. They don't want to come into these fields because it's hard and you don't get paid. You know, you're not getting paid a whole bunch of money. So it's funny to, and then now they're like, want to take out entire departments, having no clue what's going on, believing all kinds of narrative bullshit on social media. It's chaos. This is not going to end well. I'm telling you. Mark my words. You know what? This is not going to end well. And let me tell you something. If you come back to this video, shove it right in my face if I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, to be honest with you. But for them to just go and willy-nilly shut down, turn off buttons and stuff, not going to end well. Not going to end well. Not for the United States, not for the citizens. I think for the world, like, it's not going to end well for anybody. You have to have a very clear plan. I'm all for cutting government spending. I'm all for reducing, making it more lean and mean and all that kind of stuff. That makes sense. But you got to have a plan first. This is not SpaceX. This is not Tesla. This is not X. This is the United States government. It's on a whole different level, and people's lives depend on what we do. This is not hyperbole. This is real. And so to impact people's lives on this level is crazy. It's crazy. And it shows that they really don't care about the livelihoods of commoners like myself. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Dime says, did you already say when the course is coming out? So I've got a few courses already out. Whenever I'm talking about risk management framework, NIST 800 stuff, that stuff's already out. I've got the course that I'm adding to with the SCA stuff, that's already out. I took it down for a bit so I can add more to it. All the stuff that you just saw me teach, I'm going to add that stuff to it. And there's more I would like to add to it. But I've got one called Risk Man. Go to ConvoCourses. You'll see all my stuff there. There's free stuff. There's downloadables. For those of you who are asking for the downloadables of stuff you just saw on the screen, those are things that's stuff that's already there available. So if you go to ConvoCourses.com, just HTTP ConvoCourses.com, it'll forward you to the secure site. And then you'll see a bunch of downloadables. You can sign up and stuff for the newsletter or everything. Those are out. I've got another one for GRC roadmap, which is going to walk you through from zero, walk you through the NIST cybersecurity framework 2.0 and explain it in such a way that you don't have to be technical. You don't have to be in this field. It's better if you're actually an IT professional, but you don't have to. I've written it in such a way that you don't have to be. So yeah, that's coming out. I'm trying to get this done by the end of this month. That's why I'm going to try to cut this one short and get back to work on that. Larry says, is the security assessment process tied to the position of being an IT auditor or an IT security auditor? I've heard some professionals say that audit is one of the fastest ways into GRC. So this is a couple things going on with this statement in question. Yes, so security control assessor is similar to what you would see in an IT auditor or IT security auditor. We're doing the same thing. We're looking at the security control features in in an organization, and that might include not just scans. A lot of times we focus on, okay, it's a bunch of scans. It's not just scans. We also have to look at all the documentation. We have to make sure the personnel are doing what they say they do. We have to look at physical security. We have to look at wireless, like, is your wireless secure? It's a lot of different things, and it could even include just straight up source code. It could be just you have an application security audit, and all you're doing is looking at the source code for a web application or something like that. Or it could be a cloud assessment where you're just making sure that the IAM of AWS is secure and people aren't using their root account to do everything on AWS. Or you could do, it's similar to, if most of the people who watching me have been through some kind of audit. It's very stressful. It's a lot of documentation, and a team of experts come in, and then they are looking at every aspect of your, it could be financial, like if you've ever been through a financial audit, or if you've ever been through a I don't know, HR audit or whatever, that it's similar to that. So that's, that it's the same thing. An SCA, or security control assessment, is similar to an IT audit. They might do slightly different things, but we're looking at the security features of an organization, at the processes of the documentation, and sometimes even, are they in compliance with whatever laws. It's really important. The reason why you have these massive cataclysmic failures is because people don't listen to audits and assessments. They don't listen to the data that comes from the audits and assessments at their own peril. I'll give you a couple examples. There was an audit in Texas, not even security related. They were looking at the weathering, and this was in 2008, 2009. They were looking at the weathering of the Texas infrastructure. And the auditors came through and said, yep, we definitely need more weather. They pointed it out, like, we need better, we need something that is sustainable, that can withstand colder temperatures, because in the past we've had colder temperatures. We need something that's more sustainable on our electrical grid, on our windmills, all that kind of stuff. And they delivered that report to the Texas government, and then they ignored it, because they're like, we're not going to put weathering on anything. Like, there hasn't been a storm here in 20 years, right? And then guess what happened? A fucking storm came and nuked Texas, and then they didn't have power for like a week. Because they ignored the freaking assessment. And for those who say, oh, we don't need regulation, we don't need, like, give me a break, man. You're not fucking Jeff Bezos. All right? You're not Jeff Bezos. You're not Elon Musk. Right? You're not a billionaire who's arguing about land disputes that's costing them $500 million for those kind of regulations. We're talking about basic security best practices. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about protecting your banking information, PCI DSS. You think that that's going to go away because they're doing away with regulations? Get out of here. Get the hell out of here. That's crazy, man. Okay, anyway, I just went on a soapbox there. I didn't mean to. Okay, let me see here. I got more folks talking about, more folks on TikTok. Can you share your templates? Yeah, all my templates are for free if you go to ConvoCourses.com. That's why I promote it so much, because ConvoCourses.com has all my stuff, downloadables, outside of social media. And I'm going to build more stuff there. I know I've been talking about that for years, but I'm a full-time employee. So I do what I can, when I'm off work or whenever. Let me see. P. Berry says, let me put it to you this way. Audit is about assessing controls. That's it. In a nutshell, that's it. In one word, that's exactly what it is. It's auditing the controls that you're supposed to have on your organization. Okay. Dime says, I've been not applying to SAP jobs thinking it meant a software. Oh, so SAP. Okay, there's different kinds of SAP. Let me explain. And he says, when I know uh, what a security assessment plan is, shaking my head, imposter syndrome. Okay, well, let me actually break it down, because there is an application called SAP, and that sometimes gets confused with what, that those are two big acronyms, and actually the software one is a larger acronym. So there's a software called SAP, and that software is very, very important to accounting and managing large infrastructure stuff. So let me kind of show my screen here. So this right here, I'm sure people in the IT space have seen this. People in the accounting space have seen this. This is SAP software. SAP software, and this does accounting, finances, reporting. I think it helps manage employees or something. It does a whole bunch of stuff. Group reporting, financial closures, central financing, accounting, real estate management. It's like infrastructure type software, continuous accounting, reporting. So this is not to be confused with security assessment reports and security assessment plans. So it's two separate things and two different. Well, there's some overlap there, because you could probably use this SAP software to do an assessment of some type. So it seems like a very robust GRC type software, to be honest with you, because it's doing just about everything here. But yeah, this is a very, very popular software. I see this a lot. They're always looking for SAP engineers, and this is what they're referring to. This software that does accounting and finances and stuff like that. And actually, a couple jobs I've been at, they were using this software, but normally it was for accounting and stuff. So, let me see. I got more folks jumping in here, and I see you guys. David Petrell says, how hard would it be to move from an ISO role to GRC? So an ISO role is GRC. An ISO role is GRC, David. And so I'll explain it like this: governance, risk management, and compliance is what I do. I'm an information system security officer, and I'm doing governance in that I'm working directly with managers. I'm a liaison between the managers and the system guys who are actually in the weeds. I'm helping with policy and procedure, making sure that I have to write them from scratch from time to time. I'm doing a lot of documentation, so that's the governance part, and then I'm doing risk management all day long. I'm working with I'm doing looking at the vulnerability management software, looking at the results that we get from our system to see, okay, what has priority over this vulnerability? How can we fix it? Hasn't been fixed yet, to try to mitigate the risks. Writing documents to help mitigate risks. So I'm doing that kind of stuff, looking at scans and running scans and stuff like that. And then I'm doing compliance. Compliance is a real big part of what I do too. Keep in mind, I'm an information security manager, officer rather. So compliance, I'm making sure that the organization is meeting NIST 800, NIST 837. We're in the line with it. All the stuff we're doing is in the line with that. We track our stuff in accordance with NIST CSF. So that's all of that stuff is governance, risk, and compliance. So governance, risk, and compliance. One thing you could ask here is how can you go from one industry to another? Because if you're an ISO, I'm assuming that you're working for the federal government. Now, here's a trick. Here's a little thing I didn't realize until I ventured outside of the federal government. If you have these skills, if you've done the stuff I just named, like writing policies, looking at scan data, working with system managers, working with program managers, working with technical leads, working with system engineers, system admins, right? And you're like a liaison. They have the same job in every industry. In retail, they have it working with Walmart and all the big players. There, you've got it in IT services. I was working at Verizon, and they hired me because of those skills. They have it in healthcare, finances. All of these have a GRC. They don't call it a G. Well, sometimes they do. They don't normally call it a GRC person. They have their own names for it. They might call it in healthcare. They might call it a HIPAA compliance officer, or they might call it cybersecurity engineer. But you're doing HIPAA stuff. They do the same thing we do, but with a different standard. And if you have exposure to the NIST 800, you can do just about any other framework because it is the most robust, arguably the most robust framework and set of cybersecurity rules and best practices that are out there. If you compare it with any different standard, with the exception of maybe some private ones that are out there. But yeah, it's more robust than ISO 27001. It's more robust, arguably, than take your pick, PCI DSS. It has way more going on than any of those frameworks out there. The only ones that might be able to be bigger or be more exhaustive will be some private ones that are out there here and there. So if you know that, you need to learn how to put those skills to explain those skills in your resume and put it everywhere, and then you'll be reached out. Other organizations and industries will reach out to you. I get organizations from just about every sector reaching out to me because I know the NIST 800, and I have a lot of exposure with writing documents and stuff like that. I worked for the healthcare industry, writing some of their documents, financial sector, looking at their security controls. Once you have an idea of how these things work, and you read up on PCI DSS, you'll see where there's a lot of crossover between those. It'll make you extremely valuable across several different domains and several different industries. And Larry says, there is no plan. The goalposts moved each week. It's impossible to properly plan this way. And they're asking people to make life-changing decisions with minimal information given. It's a shame. I agree with you. This won't end well in many ways. Yeah, so what's happening right now? This is in real time, is in my space, in the federal space as a contractor, is there's a few things that are going to impact us. One is the end of remote work. They're trying to end remote work within 30 days or something stupid, right? And then another thing is a reduction of force, a huge reduction. They're attempting to reduce the force by a lot, like not just a few, like half or more. They're ending some departments. I'm sure you're hearing about on the news. They're just done. Cancel it, done. Nobody, don't show up to work. We'll pay you for 3 weeks, whatever, or 4 months, whatever it is. Those are the main two things. One thing that's kind of in the shadows is that they're just taking information from these organizations. I'm just surprised as Americans, people aren't more concerned with what's going on, because that's a clear violation of privacy. And if we know anything, we know that if large organizations can just grab your information, maybe you trust the organization or the person taking the information, but that's not really just the point with cybersecurity. It's that data, if anybody can just take it and hold it, maybe they have the secure place that they put it so there's no problem. That motherfucker can get hacked. So what are you doing? There's reasons why we don't just let anybody take the data um, without oversight, without any kind of transparency, without right. That's a whole different conversation. But let's just focus on the main two. What Larry was saying, which is how can you, as an employee, as an American citizen, as somebody who is a tax-paying American citizen who has sacrificed a large portion of your life to work for this organization, to become a professional and the top of your game, how can you plan to take care of your family, to pay for your house, whatever, right? To do your job when they can't even make up their mind, when they keep changing the goalposts from one week to another about what's about to happen. It just doesn't make any sense. And I'm disappointed, to be honest with you. I'm disappointed as an American, as a veteran, as somebody who loves this country. I'm just disappointed that it's just not being done well. If your goal was to reduce the force, there's a way to do that in a way that doesn't hurt American citizens, right? There's a way to do it effectively. If your goal is to make sure people come back to work in the office, okay, but there's a way to do it effectively that's not gonna cause confusion, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's almost like they're just coming up with stuff off the top of their head and then implementing it, and then figuring out what's going to happen after that, because that's what they and these are people who that's how they run their businesses, and it's worked out for them because they have a huge windfall. They can always, if they lose $1 billion, right? They lose $1 billion in stock or whatever. They have banks that'll just bail them out. But normal people don't have that. Normal people don't have a bank or an angel investor that's going to come out of nowhere and give them $100,000 so that they can continue to do whatever, take these crazy risks, so it's not making any sense what they're doing. It's just not making any sense, and the way they're doing it is what I have the most problem with. I think and then even the global stuff they're doing, I'm just like, what are the hell are they doing? What are you doing, bro? Like, Larry says, I remember that the Texas electrical grid failure, it was a nightmare. Loss of lives for no reason. Yeah, people were freezing to death. And none of that had to happen because the electricity went out, and it was because they ignored. If you look at the history of it, what really happened was they had an assessment years early, like, I don't know, 6, 7, 10 years early. They had, before that storm happened, 10 years, up to 10 years earlier, they had an assessment that was done. And what happened was the Texas leadership ignored it and said, we're not going to spend money on that because we don't, and then their windmills went out. And then instead of saying, you know what, we should have fixed those windmills, they started blaming, well, we shouldn't have windmills anyway. That's what they said. They're like, oh, well, we shouldn't have. The problem is we shouldn't have had. It's like, man, how dumb are these people? Like, I just don't understand. Like, I don't even think it's dumb. I just think it's people just blaming each other because their ego. I think it's their ego. I don't think they're just dumb. They don't want to admit that they're wrong. And then sometimes you have to, as a leader, if you're a legit leader, sometimes you're wrong. You got to go up there and say, look, I made a mistake. You know what? Let's readjust. Let's learn from our mistake and keep going forward. And instead, they see that as a sign of weakness, so they won't admit that they're wrong. An assessment is designed to have transparency that lets you see those mistakes, to see what's going on, plain as day, so that everyone can see it. So all of us as a group, as an organization, can say, okay, let's fix this. This is messed up. We didn't do this correctly. Maybe for the last couple years, last couple times we had this assessment, it's messed up. Now let's document properly. Let's fix this thing. That kind of thing. And it just doesn't make any sense when they ignore problems or pass the buck to someone else or blame other people and stuff. It just doesn't fix any problems. Let me see here. Hi, Bruce. My name is Rookie. Can you please teach about control mapping to a framework? Example, NIST. There's actually some really great resources I can point you to that do control mapping. Let me see if I can find one. There's a few really great sites, especially with the NIST CSF. Actually, has some mapping. I'm gonna show you a couple different sites. You can grab this stuff on my website, but I'm gonna show you the source of where you can get these. You don't have to go to my site if you don't want to. Let me see. There's one on. What in the world is that? Okay, bear with me, guys. I know that NIST has one, and then I know CIS controls. CIS has some really good stuff. CIS V8 mapping has one. Okay. Yep. So let me show you a couple places where you can get this. Let me switch my screen here so you guys can see what I see. All right, first one I'll show you is NIST 800. So let me make this a little bit bigger. So find this. It's just nist.gov/cybersecurity framework. Cybersecurity framework. Cyber framework, all one word. And if you go to see mappings, and they have a couple different ways you can do this. They have one interactive website where you can actually map them yourself, but they also have one where you can download individual ones that map from NIST CSF to the NIST 800, and that's what I'm looking for. Let me see. Comparison, information reference. Yeah, so this right here allows you to map it directly. You can say, okay, I want to take the NIST cybersecurity framework, and I want to map that against the NIST 853 cross-reference. You can cross-reference it with the Cloud Security Alliance and then have it generate the report for that. And it'll have references. It'll have a comparison of NIST CSF categories versus NIST 800 controls. So that's one place you can do it. Concept crosswalk, set theory, supportive, has different languages in there, which is crazy. So let's say we wanted NIST, and everything's not here yet because NIST CSF 2.0 is pretty new, so the mappings aren't all there yet. But let's say we wanted to map it against NIST 853, and then you just put generate, and then it'll have, like, let's say you had the NIST CSF gov OC context, organizational context 1 maps to NIST 853 controls PM 11. Right, and then you can download this. I believe you download this as a CSV. So this is useful. You can just export that. Boom. export it as a JSON if you want to upload it to your organization. They used to have a CSV. What's going on with that? But you could probably run it through. I bet you could take this, run it through an AI and get a CSV anyway. And then let's see another one here. So CIS V8 also has mapping of compliance controls. It's a super useful site. And this right here, let me just allow all these cookies real quick, will map across PCI DSS, HIPAA, SOC 2, everything. Is really, really, really useful tool that you can use. So let's say you were in retail and you needed to map some controls from PCI DSS. You would go here and where do you do that at? I know I've seen it before. Control Navigator. I've used it several times before. They might have changed the website. Bunch of different controls. That's what I love about the NIST CSF, the CIS control site. And if you want to go to this site, this is cissecurity.org/controls/ you'll find it. Just go to cissecurity.org and it's all on this site right here. Bunch of incredible resources that you can use, downloadable templates, you name it. It's really, really good stuff. This is breaking down every single control that they have. And these are best security practices that you can use in your organization that are not industry specific. In other words, like hit high trust or hit trust, however you pronounce it. That's mainly for, a lot of people use it for hospitals. You don't have to use it for that, but that's what, NIST 800's mostly used by federal government. But this one right here is pretty neutral as far as industry goes. So it's just best security practices, things like data protection and secure configurations for your baseline. And they do have a mapping, and I'm just having trouble finding it right now, but it's there somewhere. Let's see. Let's look at Canada or something. Let's look at that one. Canada and NIST CSF2. Let's see if I can grab that. I think it's going to have me like sign a sheet or something. Oh no, there it is right there. That's crazy. All right. Yep, there it is. There's the NIST. I keep saying this. CIS critical security controls version 8, and it's mapping against the NIST cybersecurity 2.0. So yeah, another interactive website that does that for you. So that's all your mapping right there. That should get you started. From there you can eyeball it, get more information yourself on it, and maybe even use some AI to get more automation in there. That's what I would do. I got some more stuff, but before I go any further, thank you, Larry, for that $20. I appreciate you. He says, I've worked a lot of governance in my PM role. I'm looking for more ways to gain hands-on experience, practice, training, hope to bridge the gap in learning and pivot into GRC field. Ultimate goal is to do ISO role work. Yep, you're in the right place. You're my audience. You and IT professionals who are trying to cross train and get into more of a GRC type role. And again, one of the great things I didn't realize was a benefit to what I do going into being an ISO is that I've gotten exposure to the NIST CSF, the NIST 800 series of controls and documents and special publications. That's given me this really good, solid understanding of the best security practices. Not only that, but how to make it compliant and how to manage the risks. And to my surprise, it's been very easy for me to absorb things like the PCI DSS or HIPAA or CIS critical controls. Those are so much easier because I've been an ISO for so long. An ISO is an information system security officer in the U.S. federal government, and then having done it in Department of Defense and then doing it in different federal agencies gave me this really good perspective where I see where you can apply it differently in different scenarios. And how what's really interesting is how different organizations handle it, because not all of them are super strict. They'll be real strict on one thing, but like lackadaisical on another, right? To give you an example, like Department of Defense was super heavy on at the time at the departments I was in. They were super heavy on border boundary defenses, really super hardcore on boundary defenses and on SOC, super heavy on that. Like if something's happening, normally they're gonna find it, and if they didn't find it, they'll collect it and they'll be able to analyze it for another time. They were very very solid on that. They had a fortress. But then I'll go to another organization and they were not as hardcore on that. They had that stuff, but they were more internally facing. They were looking inside their internal workings and trying to fix the stuff that's inside. And then I go to the private sector, and it's more of like a hunter type attitude because they don't have a lot of resources, so they just have to use what they have. So even though it's a thinner, they have the most cost effective firewall, but they use the hell out of it. They use the hell out. They got somebody who really knows that thing, and then they'll have they focus on the people because they have to, because they can't afford to have this gigantic fortress and use all these tools. So they have to focus on the people being good enough to. They have to have special forces in their organization to have a one-man person that can go and kill off 10 people or something. So real interesting how people use these different frameworks and stuff. Nicole says, how stressful is an information systems security manager role? I just landed one and I'm worried. Nicole, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm going to be completely honest. It's pretty stressful. You have to have a very good emotional intelligence. And what's stressful is that there's a lot relying on you. There's a lot on your shoulders. I'm not trying to talk you out of your job, okay? Congratulations on getting the role. But I'm just going to be honest with you. And everybody watching this, and this is not to my benefit. I mean, it'd be better for me to tell everybody how great it is, and that you don't have to know any technology, and you can come in here and make $100,000 immediately, and you're just sitting back, and you can go to Bali. I could literally do that. I could I could show pictures of me being in different countries and telling everybody how great, how lax it is. It's very stressful. And I think that one thing I've noticed is that a lot of immigrants, naturalized citizens, a lot of people from a poor economic background, a lot of women, people who have had some real hard times can handle this level of stress that's coming from upper management sometimes, and then also coming from system security, your peers. It's coming from customers. It's coming from. It's just there's a lot that's riding on a system that's secure, and you don't get a. They only notice if something goes wrong, so it's like a thankless job. And I'm not trying to talk people out of it, but I'm just trying to be real with you. Like it takes a very strong person. It's a person who is not flimsy. That's why a lot of IT, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of like of the super technical dudes tend to be on the spectrum and they can't handle people. And it's better to lock them in the closet and let them fix things and not be seen by the public because they're not good at talking to people. But you and I, like who are in these roles doing cybersecurity, we have to talk to the customer. We have to talk to managers. We got to talk to the engineers, the guys in the closet, locked away. We got to talk to all of them. And different ones have different, and you're dealing with different, they're speaking different languages. Your technical guys are speaking techno babble. Your managers are just worried about operations, and you got to talk to C-level execs and directors from time to time. And those guys, they just, you can't bullshit them because they're smart, and they know more than you knew. They have more quality data than you do on about just about everything, as they should, right? And they just want you to get straight to the point. So what's the incentive here? Like why would you want a job like this? Why would you want a GRC job knowing what I know? One thing I'll say, one of the great benefits is that from here, the reason why I'm not worried about the current administration or previous, or I don't know, the economy crashing or something like that. I mean, obviously, I don't want these things to happen, right? I would love everything to be sunshines and rainbows and shit. But the reason why I don't freak out about it, number one, is that being a GRC person has made me extremely versatile. If I want to do SOC analysis work in a whole different industry, I can. If I want to work for the government industry, military industrial complex, I can. If I want to work for retail industry, I can. If I want to work for healthcare, I can. Because you can go very technical, you can go very like managerial type stuff and go C-level, director, C-level. I can go that route if I wanted to. I can go these different directions where sometimes some parts of IT professions that I've been in have been kind of pigeonholed. Like network engineer. I was a network engineer at one point. And the deeper you go into the network engineering, the more that's all you can really do because it's very, very deep. It just gets extremely complex and you can't really do other things. I mean, there's some people who are polymaths who can manage it, but that's a very small slice of civilization and people that can do that kind of thing. That can go super duper deep on one thing, but also be a manager. Like that's rare. That's pretty rare to handle that level of complexity and pressure at the same time. Is pretty rare. And you don't want to do it. I mean, even if you can, like who the hell wants to deal with that? But being a GRC person gives you this really good mix of knowing looking at the organization from a big picture. So knowing frameworks and why they're important and the documentation piece and knowing why managers or C-level execs say or do the things they do, and not conspiracy based. Like you know why they're making certain moves because you're in some of those meetings and you see what they're having to go through. But then you're also talking to your peers and you're talking to the technical people. So having that language, the syntax to speak that language and hear what they're saying gives you this really clear understanding of what's going on that allows you to go to other. You can go very technical in the cloud. You can go very technical in networking, or you can be a firewall guy, or you can go the management way. It just gives you more flexibility. And the thing that is also like another ability that it gives you is the ability to handle pressure, the ability to have the emotional strength to not freak out and panic. At some point in your career, you just develop this calm that makes it so that you can get through the day without, losing sleep, right? Not every day is like that, but you just develop these social and emotional skills that you just start to notice a lot of people don't have. And you watch social media and you're like, yo, these people are bugging. Yo, these guys are going crazy. And you're just like, okay, like you see people lose their minds, but you're not one of them. So I don't know. It's been really rewarding for me, but it's going to be stressful. Just here's a couple things that helped me that I learned like later in my career being an ISM or information security officer. You feel like sometimes you're carrying the world on your shoulders. You feel like you're supposed to be the IT security police or something like that. But what I realize is that you're not. Cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility. It's not yours, not just yours. It's everyone's. And it's only going to work if all of us agree that that we want to secure our system. So once I shed that weight of thinking everything's on my shoulders and said, this is shared. Like if I'm merely a reporter, I'm not a police officer. I'm not an IT police. I'm an IT reporter. I don't, they want to shoot the messenger and be mad at you, but it's like, this message comes from on high. This is not, I'm just telling you what they told me. And I'm telling you why. I'm giving you context. That's it. They want to shoot the messenger, but like realize it's just their emotions speaking. These people, they're emotional and they're freaking out because you told them, hey, we need to do this new 100 new security controls. And here's why. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? We just spent 8 months doing this thing. You want us to go back and you just listen. And you just say, look, I hear you. Like that is going to be challenging. So, we need to put our heads together and figure out how we're going to do it. I think that being a IT security reporter instead of an IT police that's like Atlas carrying the world on my shoulders, it took a lot of weight off of me and realize, and then also like knowing, I think that there's this dude who I had on my show named Will Reed, and he said it's knowing your triggers, like knowing the things that will set you off, and then if you realize those things, and when it happens, you'll be less prone to flip out on them or to be triggered by it. Good luck to you and congratulations. It's a really good path where you can go any different direction and you don't have to worry about all the craziness. One thing that's off your shoulders is that you will be able to get a job no matter what happens. Let's see. Yes, ISO is a higher level than a GRC analyst. I suppose I've never been in that role as a GRC analyst, so I'm not really sure. I could tell you this, being an information security officer, I normally am given a lot more roles. I'm not only doing GRC and analysis of our compliance framework, whatever, but I'm also doing vulnerability management, which is a pain in the ass. And they have me looking at logs. I'm like, you want me to look at logs, and you want me to do analysis, and you want me to do compliance, and they throw all these ands on you. So I'll say it's more work probably than a GRC analyst, but probably a GRC analyst, all you're doing is looking at compliance or the risk management or the governance of an organization, I guess. Appreciate the conversation. Hang in there, Larry. I'm with you, man. I'm in the same industry, so I'm feeling your pain. Okay, I'm going through some comments. Um, how can how can I make a monetary contribution like Larry does? I really appreciate it. There's different ways if you want to. Hold on, I'm talking about money. All right, so there's a couple different things you can do. If you happen to watch me on YouTube, there's a way that you can do a contribution below. Go watch some of my old videos and make a contribution. They allow you to do that. You can just $2, $3, whatever. It's fine. You can become a member on YouTube. I have a membership coming up. I haven't released it yet, but it's coming. If you want to, another way to donate is to buy a book. Like you can buy a book, my books on Amazon. You can buy my books on ConvoCourses.net, where you get something out of it and you help. I really appreciate all you guys' contributions, everything you guys have done. It's helped me to keep going. Okay, I got it. I'll be right back. Look at this. I got, what is this called? Butter chicken. Butter chicken. Let me taste this. Oh my God, it's amazing. That's good. Yeah, it's really good. Thank you. And what is this, naan bread? She made naan bread from scratch. Look at this. And butter chicken. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Let me keep going here. I'm on TikTok. Let me see if there's any other questions. I'm not ignoring you guys. It's got other folks. Thank you guys for the shares. Appreciate it. How you feel about government contracting space with 47 trying to get rid of 50% of them? We were just talking about this. Would you advise a 35-year-old to join the Air Force Reserves? Okay, this is a few different questions here. We'll start with the first one. How do you feel about government contracting space with 47 trying to get rid of 50%? Oh, man, right now, I don't know where this is going to go. I have to be honest. Um, I don't know where this is going to go, guys. It doesn't help me to say that to you. Like, it would be better for me to say, oh, everything's going to be great. It's going to be cool. Just keep doing GRC. I have to say, I just don't know. I just don't know where this is about to go. If I'm completely honest with you, I don't know what's going to happen with this field in this industry specifically. It's given me a lot of uncertainty. Um, the one thing I can rely on is that I have an incredible method of finding jobs. It's been working for me. I'm not afraid to go back to the office, right? If that's what their threat is. It's making me think about maybe I should position myself wider. Just thinking out loud, like this things I've been thinking is that GRC is going to be there whether the US government does it or not. And the contracting world is one tiny less than 1% of the entire market. That said, our skill set is worldwide. So I've just been thinking maybe I should go global. I mean, as much as I have loved and enjoyed working in the US, just I don't know what they're doing. And I'm not sure their decisions they're making. It really makes me sad to say this because I've been working for them for 20 years, more than 20 years, and now I'm just now at this point, even if another administration comes in, I have to question the choices that the people of the United States have made. I just don't know where any of this is going. and I'm not sure why they did what they're doing, and then they just keep cheering for something that doesn't make any sense. So what I'm gonna do, what I'm doing is continue to sharpen my skills. I'm going deeper into cloud, and I'm broadening the net, not just in the United States, but all over the world. I'm making myself available to any and all companies and countries, and I'm no longer just going to focus on the U.S. anymore. Um, I just I'm not sure where this ride is going, so I need to make the net broader so that I can always be marketable no matter what I do, where I go. And I want to a really important thing. I mean, I'm already getting up in age, right? I'm gonna be out of here probably in about 10 years, but I want to hopefully lead the next generation in the right direction so that they also have opportunities no matter what happens, no matter who's in office, no matter what crazy ass decisions they decide to make. Make yourself more marketable because people in Canada still need you to know GRC. People in Australia still need GRC. People in, dare I say it, China, Japan, Philippines. There's banks everywhere. I mean, so we we're still this is a very valuable marketable skill, and it's just too bad we can't have the best and brightest here because they don't seem to want that. I'm not sure where we're going with all of this, but I think we make ourselves more marketable, and I'll let you know how this goes. I'll let you know how this goes. This new experiment, and thank you so much for this, Rookie. I appreciate that $20. Um, I'm sorry this had to be so depressing, but that was a really great question somebody asked on TikTok. I'm just telling you my honest opinion about it. It's something I've been thinking about, and it's been heavy on my heart. That I'm like, damn, like what the hell are they doing? What are they doing? I don't even think they really know what they're doing. Let me see. I got another one. He says, "Would you advise a 35-year-old to join the Air Force Reserves?" It kind of depends on your on your what your goals are. I would say it depends on what your goals are. If you I know I could just let me just tell you my experience. Like before I went in at like 20, 21, something like that. I had no other options. I mean, I had options, but I saw the road ahead of me and I knew where it was going to lead. I come from extremely hard background. Me and my sisters, my mom, like it was very difficult, right? Looking when I look back on it, and I often wonder how my hell my mom did it. I really don't know how she did it, but um, I had no. I was going to school and I had a job, and it just wasn't going anywhere. It was in California, and I just didn't have that many options. So what the military, with the Air Force, I was in the Air Force. What it did for me was it gave me options. Like I had opportunities and options, and like I had enough money to go to get a bachelor's degree while working full time, taking full care of myself. I could help my family if they needed help, and I traveled the world, and I was able to do multiple things at once. Now that said, one thing to keep in mind is that they're going to have their way with you when you do go into the military. If you're okay with that, they're going to send you to places you don't want to be for causes you don't necessarily believe in or care about, and you're just going to have to be a soldier and do what the hell they tell you to do. Some things are humanitarian and gives you this awesome feeling, and you'll learn all these things about yourself and about people and stuff. There's a dark side and a light side to it. And that's why I always tell people, don't go in for just one reason. Don't just go in for college. Don't just go in. Like if you have a reason, like make it a big reason, because you're gonna go through some dark You're going to have to do things. You're going to have to fight for causes you don't necessarily believe in. You're going to have to work for people you don't necessarily trust. And you're going to have to hold up this standard uh, working for people who would rather send you to war, but they're not going to send their kids to war. And these are things I thought about when I was in the military. And it's not always good. Sometimes it's great. Like, I had some incredible times. Some of the people I met and being able to travel all over the world, and some of the awesome missions we did, that some of them I did believe in. Some of them I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, I believe in what we're doing. And some of it was bullshit, to be honest with you. Some of it was absolute bullshit. So go in for more than one reason. And I think you'll be all right, whatever decision you make. Maria says, do you offer cybersecurity training? Right now, my focus on cybersecurity training is risk management framework. I'm trying to work something in where I do more of a broad GRC thing using the NIST CSF, which could align with whatever you're doing. So I'm working on that right now. It's not released yet. I'm still working on it. I do have some books. Let me see if I can grab one of these. I do have some books where I walk people through how to get jobs in cybersecurity. I have books on basic cybersecurity where I walk you through it's basically the CIS V8. I couldn't name it that because I didn't want to get sued. I didn't know what they're gonna do. So, but basically, it's just best security practices from the CIS. So I've got some books and stuff out there. Go to ConvoCourses.net and you'll see all the books and stuff I have. I don't have the training on there yet, but if you go to ConvoCourses.com, that's where all the courses are. I'm working on merging all this stuff together. It's going to take me some time because I'm doing it by myself. Let me see here. Let's see. Somebody said, "Damn, that looks good." It's really good, man. it's like restaurant good, man. It's really good. Butter chicken. That's what I have here. Other people to check out that are similar to what I do or better is Professor Black Ops. Check him out on YouTube. Professor Black Ops came on my show once, and a really great guy, really, really sharp, really deep on cloud, AWS cloud security. And I watch his stuff all the time. Great information there. And there's a few other incredible people that I would recommend. Another one is Will Reed, who has a bunch of content out there. I believe he even does mentorships. And another one is Tech Woke, Chris at Tech Woke. These are guys I personally talk to, and they're just out here doing the Lord's work, man. They're just trying to help people out, and go ahead and check them out. Let me see here. I got other questions here. Let me see here. I got some YouTube questions. Let me see here. I'm on TikTok here. Somebody said, B Brown says, I was tasked to map our policies to NIST 800-171. I found a template on NIST.org that really helped. Yeah. Yep. NIST.org is a really good site. NIST.gov is a really good site. They have interactive maps to where you can do that. That'll help you out, get you started. You can also just use AI. You can't trust AI 100%. I know I talk about it a lot, but you can't just take some shit from AI and not edit it. So don't do that. Let me see here. Sean said, "Do you have a recommendation for guys just wanting to get in this field?" What I always encourage people to do, if you have no experience, um, a lot of people just want to dive into GRC, but GRC is a specialization of information technology. So it's kind of like Professor Black Ops said, is that you just don't jump straight into it. I totally agree with him. You're normally not going to just jump straight into this. I know people who have, and it worked. Chris from Tech Woke. Go check him out. Tech Woke Chris. He did it. And there's a couple others. It's rare. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be, you're going to go to a help desk first, and then you're going to get into it. But if you have no experience at all, you don't know anything at all, it's either going to be a couple ways that I would recommend that you do it. If you have the time, money, and resources to do it, college, community college, whatever, state college, wherever you can get it, the best and cheapest. But college is going to help you out. Some people are really against it, and I understand why, because the prices have not gone down on college. But the thing is, if you're an engineer and you're trying to compete and get into the IT world, if you get that degree under your belt, it's very competitive. It's going to help you out. Now, let's say you don't have the option of doing college. What you also could do, one of the options is to train on your own. You could do, let me show you this. So this is what I did. When I was in the Air Force, one of the first certifications they did after our training, I went to full-blown training, right? It was more like a boot camp. So they sent us there. But one of the things that also helped me was this certification right here. If you're brand new, I was a security guard. I was like a security forces, an MP, for those who are not in the know about that. And one of the first things that they had us do was this right here, CompTIA A+. And what I was impressed with was their curriculum. They're going to go through these basic things. If you're brand new, you need to know basic things about IT. And this is where you should spend your time if you're absolutely brand new to this. Now, please listen to me. Please listen. If you are an IT professional already, if you're already on the help desk, if you already know this stuff, then of course you don't need to do CompTIA A+. Okay, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people who are absolutely brand new, like you don't know nothing. You're a teacher, and the only thing you know how to do is mess with your phone with IT, and you want to get to know this stuff. Then take a look at this CompTIA A+, and let's say you don't have time to go to college. CompTIA A+, all of this, knowing the basics about hardware, networking, troubleshooting, security, it's going to kind of explain the landscape. And if you're new, it's not going to be easy for you if you're new. A lot of my peers, influencer peers are saying, "Oh, don't do the CompTIA A+. It's a waste of your time. Go straight to the CCNA." I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? So CCNA is a certified Cisco networking associate. It's hella hard. It's hella hard for me, and I've been doing this a while. It's hella hard. It's hands-on now. I think they broke it up into parts. It's hella hard. If you are brand new, it's impossible. it's not, unless you cheat. I mean, yeah, then you could pass it, but then you don't know what the hell you're doing. Like, you passed the test and have no idea what you're doing, and you watered down the test for everybody. You basically destroyed the thing for everybody, especially going around bragging about it. That, oh, I took it in 7 days, and you cheated. Like, don't do that. Let's have some common sense. Look, if you're brand new to this, go do this right here. If you're brand new, this will walk you through what you need to know. Hardware, operating systems, and it's actually 2 tests. And if you are new to this, I'm telling you it's hard. It's actually 2 different tests. If you don't know anything, it will be hard for you. It was hard for me, and I was brand new, and I passed the first time, but it was hella hard for me. The questions that they asked were hella hard, and now it's even harder because it's 2 exams. If you're not new, if you have been doing this for a while, no, it's not going to be hard. It's going to be super easy because you're going to know the terminology. You probably guess your way through this thing if you've been doing this for a while. Yeah, so that's my advice to you if you're brand new. Like, you got to know there's no way around knowing IT. There's a lot of things that happen, like there's a lot of things you have to catch up on as this field's growing quickly. And so you need to start from scratch, and that's learning the basics of information technology. AJ says, what's usually harder, GRC or SOC? I would argue SOC is harder. It's more technical. And Professor Black Ops, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but and other IT professionals who are watching this, what would you say is harder, GRC or SOC? SOC, for those who don't know, is GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. That's what I do. It's a little bit of it's documentation, making sure your organization is within compliance, things like that. SOC, what he's referring to is SOC analyst, where you're analyzing all the data across your organization, looking at logs to see all the events coming in and going out, and trying to determine if you have a security incident or interesting traffic. And I've done both of these things. I was a cybersecurity analyst for about a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. And I really enjoyed it. It was so fun. And from there, it's a really good place because you can go into hacking and pen testing, and you can go super deep into forensics. And it's just super fun. Like, everything I thought IT cybersecurity was. It lived up to that challenge. But is it harder? Yeah, it's way harder than GRC. It's way harder than GRC. You got to learn stuff like this. Hold on, let me show you. So you got to learn stuff like this. What is it? SANS 503 intrusion detection in depth. TCP/IP for intrusion detection. It's knowing like how the packets, looking at the packets that are coming on a network and determining what might be a anomalous behavior of the network based on the packets. It's things like using stuff like Snort, which is intrusion detection. And it's an intrusion detection application. And it's things like TCP dump, network traffic analysis. Look at how thick this book is. Yeah, so I got like 5-6 of these books that are like that. Each one of them's thicker than the Bible. It's a lot, man. Professor Black Ops agrees. He says, I agree. SOC at the entry and mid. Yeah, it's harder. Emotionally, right? If that's a factor, if we're talking about like how much stress. Well, GRC is a broad field. So if you're an information system security manager or information system security officer, you have to deal with people more. Whereas a SOC analyst, they're not really dealing with humans. So it depends on what's easier for you. If you're already a tech head and you're in this, you just really don't like dealing with people, then GRC, certain parts of GRC is gonna be way harder for you. Technically, hands down, SOC analyst is way harder. Way harder. Let me see here. Other questions. I'm gonna end this real soon, guys. I appreciate all you guys' comments and questions, the donations. Really, really appreciate it. Let me see here. Kenneth says, does an F1 student have a chance in GRC? What is F1? A F1 student. What does F1 mean? So I'm not familiar with that. Let me see. Nice to meet you. I enjoy your content. Thank you. Thanks for watching, Sean. I appreciate you, man. AJ says, do you think Google why do I always get this question? Do you think Google cybersecurity certificate is good prep for Security Plus? I've never taken it. If I'm honest with you, I have never taken the cybersecurity, the Google cybersecurity exam. If you're brand new, I would say any 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 of those are going to be better than nothing. But I would have to look at the curriculum. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you yes or no, because I've never taken the Google cybersecurity. What was it called? I never taken it. It looks like it's really popular. Google's been pushing it pretty hard. Google cybersecurity certificate. Let me see. Let me just take a look at it real quick. Let's look at both of the curriculums. I'm a junior for a bachelor's in information communication technology. What search should I do for cyber? You should do the Security Plus. Let me tell you why. Let me show you. Let me show you why. Security Plus. CompTIA Security Plus. It's a really, really great entry to intermediate type certification. Here it is right here, CompTIA Security Plus. The reason why is it's very marketable, meaning people know what it is. It's been proven. A lot of industries look for it, and your HR departments and your tech recruiters, they know what this is. Not taking anything away from the Google certification, Google cybersecurity certs or anything like that. I'm going to be taking some Google search soon. I'm probably going to the cloud ones. But here is CompTIA Security Plus. It's going to be general security concepts, threat, vulnerabilities, mitigations, security architecture, security operations, oversight, right? That's what they cover. It's basic security stuff in an industry. And let me show you a couple reasons why you need to take this. One is the one industry that looks into this is 3141. What is it called? 3075. What is it called? 841. I think they renamed 8570. 8570. Okay. So one of the industries that looks highly on Security Plus is the government. And not just the US government, but all governments know what Security Plus is. But I'm just going to show you the US government because that's the one I know. This right here is 8140, 8170. They're changing the name, but it's a document that says, hey, if you are a contractor working for the government, if you are a federal agencies hiring people, we want you to look at these certs right here. And here's what it looks like. They change this thing from time to time. It's getting updated constantly. They haven't settled on anything, but I could tell you a lot of the certifications that are listed here are still being looked at. Let me see. So, for example, if IAT means information assurance technical, and then IAM means information assurance manager, not to be confused with identification and access management. It's means something different here. So look, they're looking at CAP. CAP is now called, a lot of these names have changed. So this is old, but CAP is now the CGRC. CASP is going to be called the CompTIA Security Plus, Security X. And then, but Security Plus, there's a couple things on here you see over and over again. Security Plus is one of them. You see Security Plus here. This is working in the government industry, military or government industry as a contractor. They've got it here. They've got it a couple other places here. And then you've got The CISP, see that all over the place, but that's kind of like a mid-tier certification. Another place we can look at is Indeed.com. Indeed, if I could spell Indeed.com. If we go to Indeed.com, oh man, look at it showing all my information. Hope nobody hacks me. So Indeed. Oh my God, come on, guys. Don't do this to me, Indeed. You're embarrassing yourself. All right, hold on a second. I guess I got to sign into Indeed now. I don't know what the hell. I just wanted to show you. Okay, here we go. Indeed.com. So watch this. I do this all the time here. Security. If we typed in Security Plus, see how many people are looking for this in the industry. In any industry. And this might be because it's false positives, because I just typed in Security Plus. They don't normally spell it like this. Maybe this is way too many. So that tells me that's not right. So let's look at CompTIA Security Plus. There we go. This will be more accurate. Anywhere. We want to look at anywhere. 6,000. Okay, that's more like it. There's 6,000 right now. Look, jobs right here that's been listed. And you probably, when you're doing this, you want to do in like the last 24 hours. Let's look at that. Still 100 jobs in the last 24 hours. Pretty good. And if you look at other certifications here, it'll give you an idea of what jobs are more in the market or being looked for than others. And you'll see like a large swath of different jobs. You got functional security administrator, voice over IP technician, Google Workspace IT security specialist. This company right here is looking for a Google Workspace specialist with a Security Plus. What did I tell you? DAS NOC specialist or network operating center specialist, IT professional. All these guys looking for a CompTIA Security Plus. So I would say Security Plus is what, if you're in school, you're looking for a certification, you're a cybersecurity person, can't go wrong with Security Plus. Another one that might be beneficial to you, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys who are watching this, but some of the entry level cloud certs to start on the cloud certification track, like your AWS CCP or your Azure 900, those might help you if you're gonna keep going up. I think those will help. But Security Plus, I think would be one of the best ones I would recommend that you do. And then he got some more questions here. Says no Linux certs. Linux certs. I'm not. You know what? Professor Black Ops might be smarter on those than me. The only one I could think of that's pretty hot would be what is it called? The Red Hat admin. I believe that one's pretty hot. The Rail 8 administrator one. At one time, that one was pretty hot. Another one. I have the Linux Plus. I don't think that one's very marketable, in my opinion. I mean, it's good. It's good to get it just to learn, and it's not like going to get you jobs or anything. It's kind of like Network Plus. It's good for like learning basic stuff, but I wouldn't say it was like a super marketable certification compared to Security Plus or CISSP or AWS Architects Associate or something like those. Are really hot certifications that are going to get you some real high paying jobs, but Network Plus, I would not put in that bag. I would not put that in the bag. Another place you can look at if you're looking for certifications, as far as like how they're what's the level of the certifications, is a place called, and I show this almost every other week. You type in security certification progression. security certification progression chart. It'll take you to Jeremy's site. What are they doing with search these days? There it is. Security Jeremy, Paul Jeremy's site. And so this is what I want to show you guys. This is really good, really, really good site that breaks down all the certifications starting from beginner. If you look over here on your far left here, you'll see beginner, intermediate, expert. And so I think that Paul Jeremy has done a good job on this. This is a really good site. He should monetize this because he should make some money off this. So if you look at, somebody mentioned SC 900. This is, who makes this thing? Microsoft certification. Okay. SC 900. At the bottom, you got ITIL Foundation certification at the bottom, Project Plus at the bottom, Cloud, I don't even know what that is. CompTIA Cloud Essentials at the bottom. Yeah, at the bottom, foundational, low-level certifications. And I'm looking for the CompTIA. They have another one called ITF, and I don't see it on here. Maybe it's like one level up. Nope, don't see it. Yeah, but if you go here, bottom all the way to, let's say, Security Plus, right? Security Plus, you can see they've listed it kind of in the beginner level. But the reason why I still say that to get this one is because it's a badass certification, because people know what it is across different industries. It shows that you clearly know the fundamentals. If you can pass this cert, like if you can study for this cert and pass it, it shows clear fundamentals that you know about security, best security practices. And it's a great way to start building off of in other directions. And you can see it's above a lot of these other lower tier certifications. And then if we go to another popular certification, let's say, I don't know, the C-Risk, that's not really popular. What's a really big certification that CASP is pretty big. So CASP is up here. This is a difficult certification that they don't allow just anybody to take. But it's in the intermediate to expert level, and now it's called the Security X certifications from CompTIA. In the mid-tier, intermediate, popular certs, let me see if I can find a couple that are popular that you guys would know. AWS CSS, that's the AWS Services Certified. AWS Certified Security Specialization is intermediate according to this chart, but this is a badass certification as well. I mean, you're going to be pulling down like 100, at least 100 on that one. Somebody asked about Linux certifications. Here's the one I was thinking about: Red Hat Certified System Administrator. This is a badass certification for Linux. Probably one of the top Linux certifications as far as I know. Let me see other mid-tier certifications. Anything pop out at you guys? But yeah, you can go here. There's a couple different resources that you can go to. I just joined. What is this resource? So this is called pauljeremy.com. If you go to Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo or wherever you use for search, or ChatGPT for search, just type in security certification progression, and it'll take you to this roadmap. And just explain it real quick. If you look on the far left here, you'll see beginner, intermediate, and expert. And then if you look at the top, it has different types of certifications. Like it has communication and networking certifications. These are your Cisco networking certifications, your Juniper, your I don't know, Network Plus from CompTIA is there. All networking type communication, voice over IP type stuff is all here. And they don't list every single one. They list the most popular ones I noticed, like the ones that are most popular in different industries. And then IAM, their identification and access management certifications right here. And you have the PMP. I'll get to that one in a second. So these are all your IAM certifications, starting with the SC 900 at the bottom, working your way all the way up to the top one, which is the Management Institution Certified Identity Management Professional, which I have never heard of until now. Then if you work out your way to the orange section here, it's got the Security Architecture and Engineering certifications. It's things like let me see if I can find some popular ones you might have heard of. A+ certification is on there at the bottom. The AWS Cloud Certified Cloud Practitioner at the bottom. That's one I'm about to take real soon here. Bottom tier certification. You've got the Google Associate Cloud Engineer. You've got Network Plus. You got a Kubernetes one here. There's a lot that are here in this one. Other popular. The Red Hat Certified Engineer. Oh, this is a top tier Linux certification right here. And then they have above that one a $3,000 cert in the expert level is Red Hat Certified Architect. Yeah, I've heard of that one before. That's crazy. So yeah, that's your orange tab. And then if you have your light orange, which is asset security certifications. And then going to our right here, the next one is security and risk management certifications. And this is the ones that mostly that I've been talking about that's kind of in the field that I talk about, which is Security Plus, GSEC, CASP, or Security X now, CISSP, CRISC, and other super popular certifications that are on there. I don't know if CISA is in the next one, which is Security Assessment and Testing. So CISA is one of the more popular ones. GCIA, man, badass certification. Super impressed by that one. That was really effective during my SOC analyst days. Let's see, software security certifications. It includes the ISC2 Squared Certified Secure Software Lifecycle Professional, which I've heard of before, and some other certifications that I have not heard of before. And then you've got the last one, which is Security Operations. And I think he's got this one broken up into different parts here. But he's got a forensics piece. He's got a incident handling, pen testing, and exploit. And among these, you have all kinds of stuff. You got a bunch of SAN certs. You've got a bunch of Kali Linux certs. You've got the popular OSCP for pen testing. You've got a bunch of great certs here. So yeah, and then somebody mentioned that they are a PMP. I have my PMP, and I'm considering venturing into cybersecurity. Well, that's awesome. That's the same thing my man Larry is doing. And what I encouraged him to do is to do the Security Plus, because that's a great way to learn general cybersecurity. But you should know that as a project manager, you're already way up there on the pay chart. So you should know that the PMP, the project management professional, is an expert level certification, is the highest PMP certification, and it's above a CISSP. So that is a badass certification that, as a matter of fact, a lot of cybersecurity professionals get that because it's extremely useful for what we do. Because a lot of what we do, especially GRC type work, is in line with what project managers do. as far as having to talk to different parts of the organization, talk to a director and a manager and a system engineer or something like that. That's something we also have to do. That's what I've been thinking, doing the Security Plus. Yes, the PMP is the one I've been. Yes, that the Security Plus is the way to go. I think it's going to tighten up your knowledge of security. It'll force you, if you don't know basic IT stuff, it'll force you to go back and learn that stuff. So you might have to go on all of these different side quests to figure that stuff out. Like if it starts talking about network security, you'd be like, okay, well, what is the difference between an IPv6 and an IPv4 or something like that? Then you got to go figure out what that is. So yeah, that's a great plan, I think. I mean, because it's just going to round out your skill set. And you said you're taking Professor Messer. I've heard great things about him. I'm currently using Professor Messer. Yeah, I've heard great things about that guy's training. I haven't used it myself, but Professor Black Ops here. He says, I got the AWS security specialty. Yeah, that one's fire. I've been looking up that one since you told me about it, and that's definitely worth taking a look at. Although I've been thinking that I'll do AWS and then go to Azure 900. I think that's what I'll do, because the current environment I'm in is using a lot of Azure. And then he says, it goes on to say, I'm trying to get into containers. Get it on my containers. Yeah, containers, Kubernetes, Docker, all that stuff is coming to mind as I'm learning AWS. I'm learning all that stuff through AWS, which is not a bad thing. This is a really good tool to use. I use it quite often. This dude should definitely monetize it. I guess maybe he's doing it here. Oh, okay. I guess he is. Donate on Patreon. So if you guys didn't know, shout out to Paul Jeremy. Go check out this resource, and then know that he does have some ways to help donate. You can buy some of his prints, or you can donate on Patreon, which I might do because I use this guy's site quite a bit. And great stuff there. All right, guys, I think that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I need to go eat some of this buttered chicken with some naan bread and some wine, and then get drunk while I work on the rest of this course. All right, guys, I'm out. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, special shout out. Thank you to Professor Black Ops. Thank you so much for joining this live. Appreciate you. Appreciate all your awesome content. Somebody says they want to connect with me. Go to contact@ConvoCourses.com. You can email me directly there. I'm extremely busy, but I will definitely get to you as fast as I can. Larry, thank you, Larry, for your donation. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you. And Rookie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your donation. And everybody else, your participation is an incredible donation to this community. So I appreciate everybody. If you guys want free stuff, go to ConvoCourses.com. I've got a ton of free downloadables, stuff I've been talking about here, downloadable. So that's it. I'll see you guys on the next one.